Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, February 28th. Actually, no, that is a lie. I should not read these titles. Do not trust them. It is Friday, March 3rd. Thanks, everyone, for coming back, and thanks for checking in, every day and making this a part of your routine. So thank you very much. I'm going to invite a couple people up here, and we'll get the call started. If you'd like to come up, just raise your hand, and we'll invite you up to talk. All right, there we go.
Yo, happy Tuesday, guys.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is a very happy Tuesday. I'll tell you why, because I got some astrology for that ass. That's right. It's unfortunate that you got the background wrong today, opinion. You see it's green. We got some bearish astrology. It was a straight, almost downward trajectory today. So that's bad news, bears, for all of us today. But the good news is the moon made an appearance. That's right. The moon was just beyond the fucking horizon, which means next week, Tarstrology should be fucking lit.
Well, hey, are you saying we should shut down this talk, start a new one that's red? Nah.
I mean, hey, whatever you want to do, opinion. You started streaming already. I wouldn't fucking do that shit if I were you. That's too much of an inconvenience. Let's get on to plays.
I like the sound of that. What do we have for today, guys? Yes, silence for breakfast.
Yeah, I know, right? So I'm looking at the moment CLF April 21, $22 puts for $1.25 or less. BTU April 21, $27 puts for $1.70 or less. AA, I think that's Alcoa, April 21, $50 puts for $2.20 or less. SHEL, Shell for April 21, $60 puts, 90 cents or less. And Twilio, TWLO, April 21, $70 puts for $4.70 or less. These are all plays that are the result of a Gamma MACS cross. Gamma MACS is the price where a hypothetical portfolio made up of the option open interest for that ticker has the highest portfolio level gamma. The thesis is that institutions who generally make up a larger portion of the short option position are more sensitive to the gamma of these short option portfolios, and sometimes it's cheaper to manipulate the price than it is to acquire more options or add to the hedging that's already done on the position.
All right, everybody, if you're looking for Hardy, I'm glad you asked. I literally just found one. I am looking at Intel puts. I'm looking at the $25 puts. They're currently sitting at 32 cents. The open interest is pretty big, so that's another reason why I'm looking at them. They're dated for 3/17, so 13 days to expiration. They're currently sitting at 32 cents. I will be trying to get in around 28 cents, maybe 25 cents. So this is your Tarstrology play of the day. Intel puts dated for 3/17. $25 strike. I'll go ahead and put it in the comments.
Thank you.
Hardy, have you looked at any of the PBM's insurance companies lately with the Eli Lilly insulin stuff?
I haven't, but why would that matter? Because they're paying less for insulin now. Although odds are they're probably paying the same price for insulin that Eli Lilly is now charging everyone else, as opposed to the discounted former market price.
Well, the typical thing to do is rebating and bundling. So if you have an employer-led health plan, a lot of times they'll go with a big PBM for bundling to get rebates on the drugs. So if you're Microsoft and you have a lot of people that have diabetes, you're expecting a rebate per insulin script that goes through the PM. And if they suddenly drop the price, I don't know what happens to the rebates. I think the PBMs are on the hook for still promising the pay through, and it's not just a matter of a pure, right, like insulin used to cost you $300, now it costs you $30. A part of it is they would say, yeah, it's $300, but we get a $200 rebate per one, and that rebate goes directly to you, the company, as a cash payment. So it's a way for PBMs to kind of play the game of like, choose United versus CVS because we'll get you more rebates on your diabetic patients. And I just haven't had time to read into more about what that might look like.
Anybody looking into Novo Nordisk calls right now? Because it is looking pretty bearish. Just from a fundamental perspective, it's gaining more and more traction on these weight loss magic pills that make it look like Steve Jobs in his last days. So that's the only play I'm looking at that's even remotely directional.
Yeah, but they have this insulin pressure now too.
Yeah,
which to be fair, I don't know how big their insulin portfolio is at this point.
It's pretty significant. Actually, there's been a lot of cuts in like more like Medicare, Medicaid dependent states like Alabama, where basically because the feds are able to negotiate prices directly with drug makers, it has become like a potential threat to their profitability. That's why they've been spending and dumping a lot of money on the preventative side of diabetic drugs, like Wegovy and whatever the hell they're making to make you look skinny.
Well, I'll say purely anecdotal, but I know a lot of people getting Wegovy just to fucking lose weight. So.
Oh yes, TikTokers have been pushing it. They're basically funding Congress to look into allowing for children. They have already reached as far as the pediatricians, National Pediatricians Association, to potentially examine aggressive weight loss interventions, whether it's bariatric or medical, for obese children over the age of 13. These are cited articles. If you guys want that, you guys can come to the Discord and ask me directly.
Could you please post those articles in the comments, or at least links to them?
Yes. Yes. Just I'll put it under opinions thread.
I will say, since it's quiet, I think the insulin thing is, I don't know. I think it's a way for them to make a big show of everything, but really not lose out on too much.
Is it the fast-acting insulin, or is it the slow-release insulin that they're selling at much lower prices?
I'm not completely sure. I have to double check.
It would be both. It would be both, because as long as it's considered like a maintenance related, I guess, prescription, this is kind of like the layman term for it, they are lowering, quote unquote, lowering the price to make it more affordable. Fast acting, it's basically they're used generally for like adjusting or after meals, and then like the slow acting basically is for like a daily use. But it's like a very complicated thing to say, like, you know, whether fast acting. So basically anything in that classification of like insulin to regulate from like that classification is going to have a lower price. Other things like that stimulates insulin production from the body, like metformin, haven't really had any clear answer on which direction it will go. But it's not exactly an expensive drug or even profitable drug to use, so nobody really gives a shit.
Yeah, metformin. Here's a tip: if you're on metformin and you're paying for it, a lot of pharmacies give metformin for free if you switch to their pharmacy. So, FYI.
Yeah, it's like chocolate during like Halloween. But the caveat is you have to basically, for pancreas, it has alpha and beta pancreatic cells, and your pancreatic cells have to be able to produce insulin to actually affect your blood sugar. If not, metformin is completely useless. So there's a lot of like, I guess, pharmacology behind like the diabetic industry.
Thanks, guys. And I know we have a little bit of silence, but before I move on, just want to make sure, hi, Mark, Wilo, you guys didn't have anything else to say about the health of your plays?
No, to be honest, I need to read into it more. I suspect it's not going to make a huge difference to these PBMs. There's plenty of other drugs that they rebate off of, and I'm sure they'll hold Lilly accountable on some level for it. So I think we'll see how it plays out.
Hey guys, forgive my ignorance, but why are we talking about diabetes?
Because
Eli
Lilly is
a
lowering their
manufacturer
insulin
of-
prices. Yeah.
Is there what's going on with the stock then? Is it?
Oh, I don't know. My play isn't on Lilly. They have plenty of other drugs that they can profit off of.
Well,
We were talking about insurances and PBMs and the rebating scheme.
So ticker, for those who are not sure, is LLY, Lima Lima Yankee. And
yeah, Lilly looks like it peaked out in December. It's been coming down ever since.
I mean, that could be also a function of no new trial news from them. I don't know. Biotech and pharma is very news-driven.
Well, the entire healthcare sector has pretty much bucked the trend of the bear market last year. So maybe this is just sector rotation that we're seeing here and has nothing to do with the fundamentals or the narrative.
There's actually some major fundamental shifts when it comes to healthcare right now, especially when the declaration of the public health emergency is over in May. So keep that in mind, that it could potentially affect the broader markets depending on how this is going to play out. One thing that we are seeing from like the regulatory level, there's a lot of like homeless people. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of people who shouldn't be in skilled nursing facilities receiving Medicare funding, and after the waiver is over, we don't know where they're going to go. But sure as hell, Medicare is not going to pay for room and board in a skilled nursing facility of like $15,000 a month. So these nursing homes will take a pretty big hit. Hospitals will definitely take a big hit. So keep that in mind.
Well, I mean, you could go into a whole conversation about star ratings and how they affect hospitals and stuff, but I don't know the stock plays on that.
Thank you for sharing your insight, guys. I know you guys work in the business, so play that I'm actually going to do is Lockheed Martin, LMT. I really haven't touched my portfolio all year. I know I talk a lot, but I'm going to start DCA into that one. They have the best margin out of all the defense companies. They have the most contracts in the States. They have the most contracts international from all the U.S. defense companies. I'm going to start trying to play the geopolitical risk and the rising risk, and instead of just ETFs or broad swaths, I'm going to go for that company. I think it's a solid buy. And,
Sorry, Guy, what was your ticker again?
LMT, Lockheed Martin. It's pretty much the largest defense contractor.
Okay.
Bullish.
Does it have anything to do with that? Was it you that shared that Raytheon stuff, like the one Congress guy that bought Raytheon?
No, I mean, Raytheon's good too. The thing with Raytheon, they've got a little more aero, right? I mean, they're missiles, but they don't have as high profit margin. So when I looked at the fundamentals, I didn't like that. And I own them through the merger and everything, 8-10 years. I guess that was 10-12 years ago now. So I stay away from them, if you will.
I think someone in the Discord posted I may be wrong about the basis, but I think it was someone on like the defense committee sold their Taiwan semiconductor stock and bought Raytheon stock. I don't know. I need to look into that.
No, that wasn't me, but thank you for asking.
So, some mildly bearish news for Tesla, depending on how you feel about Mississippi. They could potentially pass a law that could shutter the only Tesla store in Mississippi by forcing it to operate like a dealership.
Guys, so Wall Street Bets is lots of YOLOs and kind of degen stuff going on, and this is my first time at this talk, and people are talking about fundamental stuff, narrative stuff, long-term investing, all that.
I'm old. Sorry, I'm the
no,
boomer.
I'm old too. I'm old too. I get that. It's just it seems kind of there's like a disconnect here. I mean,
I think actually Genome's the boomer, but they call me one too.
I think
no, but bringing up Tesla. I mean, I remember what was it around December, January when Tesla was down there, and the story was that Elon Musk is going to get margin called, right? And that was actually the best time to buy. I feel that there's a kind of a big disconnect between the stories and the way in which the prices of stocks are moving. Like you brought up Lockheed Martin. Yeah, it shot up after the war started. But it's been kind of doing little since then, right? I would have expected this to double. I mean, this is the first time we've had a large-scale major war in a long time.
The reason why it didn't double is because there wasn't a change in the current contracts that they have. In order for the price of Lockheed Martin to double, there needs to be more orders for the materials and resources they produce.
Right, and if a war can't do that, then what is going to do that? Right.
The reason why the war can't do that is because there have already been plenty of contracts stockpiling resources and ordnance from Lockheed Martin. So that ordnance still needs to be drawn down. A lot of the material being used at the moment in the Ukraine-Russo theater is Soviet era or Cold War era supplies. Once we start drawing down the Y2K or Millennium era supplies, then there will be more orders, more contracts, and I'm sure they're being negotiated already to replenish them.
Right. So it seems as though what that means is that we're looking at a prolonged war, and so I would say that there could be risk of what if we've been hearing news about China sending out a 12-point plan to end the war.
Have you seen the 12-point plan?
That's going to happen. I think that this could be a relatively prolonged war, similar to what happened in Iraq. But it seems like the risk is to the downside, actually. I mean, the chart looks great. Lockheed Martin, long term, the chart looks great. Or at least it doesn't look bad. But I'm struggling to see near term like catalyst.
Sure. So again, since I brought it up, I'll kind of further.
Yeah, please.
This. Yeah. So regardless of if the war in Ukraine ends or not, I still think people are going to order more because of the tension. If it does end, that means more NATO members will probably going to get in, which means they can sell more. That was part of my thesis as well. Growing tensions in China, correct. Every other company, hold on. Every other country wanting to modernize their weapons, I'm not looking for a double. That's not the way I play. So right. I'm sorry. No, I don't do dumb YOLO plays. I'm the old guy.
I do SPY zero.
I mean, I like inverse funds. I do. I mean, I do dumb stuff. But yeah, sorry. I talked about fundamentals and a company where I can see the potential growth is there. I'm not expecting a double. It's in my retirement account.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I hope that helps, if that makes sense. You're right. It wasn't supposed to. I'm not looking for it to be the double. I'm just looking to lose less money probably in the next 2 years.
Yeah, no, I mean,
really be grim about it if you really want to know my thesis. So
I'm a technician, so I look at the chart, and the chart looks absolutely fine for that. Like you're good. Like there's no weakness here at all. We were originally talking about healthcare, and
we shift gears quickly. And yeah, I don't really even bring up plays most of the time. I just chime in. So
who else has plays to share?
Fundamental or technical?
Plays.
Sorry.
I mean, we have a guy who uses the star stream. Nothing wrong with that, as long as they can explain their. What's important is they can explain their thesis. So who else has plays to share?
Anybody have like an SI play, Silvergate play, or a Nordstrom play?
Nordstrom.
I have one. It's a little bit interesting. It's a really small company called Velo 3D. I think it's kind of pronounced like Velocity, looking at how they did it. They're a company. They're still small.
You gotta take it real quick.
VLD.
Thanks, guy.
They 3D print metal parts, or more specifically, they make the machinery and software that does it. I got in on them a couple weeks ago. I just think the technology is really cool and is kind of, when it gets refined to the point that it's able to see widespread use, I think it has a lot of potential in manufacturing. They just had an earnings yesterday that had a surprise beat. So the volume is low enough, however, that if you want to get in on it, it probably won't move too much at market open, because the volume on this is pretty small. It usually runs around $3. My stupid ass got in on it at the worst possible time. I think I bought it at like $3.50. But I think that this company's like, this is a long hold play. It's not like grab and dump.
At least you didn't buy it at 10 last year.
No. I
mean,
thought
you did go at the worst possible play.
That's cool, but IPOs scare me.
You could sell covered calls against the shares you have to reduce your cost basis in the meantime. My concern with 3D printed metal parts is the demand for them. What materials or what, I guess, devices use a 3D printed metal part, or can only use a 3D metal printed part, as opposed to stamping, as opposed to die cuts, as opposed to CNC machining or casting?
There are certain kinds of parts that you can't make in those methods and in certain materials. They have a whole list of them.
I agree, but what's the demand for those specially made parts, or those more exotic or less classic industrial materials? See where I'm going with this?
Yes, I do. That's one of the reasons I wasn't willing to buy it at 10. Now, this is just something that I think as they refine it and they get more speed behind it, that they'll be able to use it more widespread, because I think it's going to be quicker and easier in the long term, as opposed to tool and die, because tool and die has a very expensive and long retooling process every time you have to change from one component to another.
So it wouldn't be industrial manufacturing, it would be, at least for now, prototyping.
For the moment, yes, but this is a stock that's running a couple of bucks. They're still in like the early ramp up phase. So that's what I'm in on it for. This is something I'm kind of looking 5 years on.
All right, thank you for sharing. Who else has plays?
Thank you for your input, by the way. I hadn't actually considered the demand for custom parts. That's a good point, and I appreciate you asking the question.
You're welcome.
So I was thinking about talking about the Ukraine war. I don't have a particular stock to pick, but I was thinking, so after they're done fighting and all these buildings get like blown up, what companies are going to get the contracts to rebuild all those buildings? Might be a thought, like a sector to look into.
I just think large developers, international developers, they just wrap it up, sell it in condos individually.
What about insurance companies?
Years away, guys. I think that's years away, because what's going to be required in order for people to want to invest in Ukraine is an absolute guarantee that something like this is never going to happen again. And I don't know how that's going to happen.
Not exactly. I think there's going to be developers no matter what. I mean, look at Lebanon, that they had that bombing. Developers immediately came in and they swept it up, and they just started rebuilding and selling condos individually like they always do. I think the same thing's going on.
What stock could I have bought to take advantage of
that? I don't know. I think most of these international developers are off market, like private.
What about construction equipment? Deere, Caterpillar, or something like that?
It'd be more cat than deer, I would think.
Yeah, you could look. I'm not familiar with what type of machinery they use or construction labor they mostly focus on, but that could be a play. Caterpillar.
Look at any companies that deal with like cement or concrete supplies, and I would focus mostly on European, especially any that are in the EU country, because I think they would be the ones most likely to benefit.
Are you talking about the eventual reconstruction of Ukraine?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I would look at maybe Caterpillar or Volvo or manufacturers of heavy equipment.
Komatsu is another popular one. Caterpillar is for the biggest machinery when you have to do a lot of earthwork. If you're doing smaller things like residentials, in most areas that I've seen, Komatsus tend to be more popular.
Who makes sky cranes? Those really tall, like self-assembling skyscraper building cranes. That would probably be another one to buy into.
I think foreign-wise, Caterpillar is the most popular one. That's more well known.
They have a larger swath of that business. I don't know the exact percentages, but I think you're correct. They have that larger moat around that.
Yeah, but I brought up Caterpillar I think last week, and somebody made the argument that most of Caterpillar focuses on around mining.
I think I said
So-
mining was one part of it. We kind of went far in the conversation, but they're not the ones that actually build individual homes. But what's going to be needed with Ukraine is not just individual homes. You're building whole cities again. So that's larger construction where CAT would come in. So that makes sense on both points.
It might be worth pointing out that a lot of the specialty machines that you see for mining and such aren't necessarily unique machines. They're attachments. Most of like the specialty items are attachments that are hydraulic powered that go on the ends of backhoes.
Okay, so I think we've covered this topic enough. Does anyone else have new play to share?
Yeah, S&P 500 is opening up about 0.5% higher. Yesterday we had what looked like a typical textbook bullish divergence on the 30-minute time frame, 60-minute time frame. Looks like yesterday might have been a near-term bottom, especially because we opened below the previous low that was made on the 23rd. So it's a nice little technical bottom. Thanks, guys. I'm going to be heading out. Take care.
But before you go, does that mean you're buying 0 DTE at the money calls on SPY?
I bought yesterday zero, well, not zero, but expiring today. Probably going to get out at the open just because I don't want to take the risk too much. I think that it's a question of, is it going to continue higher into the end of the day? Well, at least until the end of 3 o'clock. Or is it going to pull back? And when it comes to relative risk reward of a 0 DTE, I'm not looking to push my luck here.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
Nobody's looking into Silvergate? An SI play?
That thing's a hot piece of shit.
Yeah, but I mean, is anybody getting puts on that? Or picking up calls at the bottom? Who knows?
Well,
I had puts like a month ago, and then I sold for a profit, and I think it went up.
So IV and Silvergate's still high, so it might be to your advantage actually to sell, let's say, the 350 put, collect the Vega as the price as the IV comes down toward expiration. Unless you think the price will go even further. So I'm waiting to see what the deep out of the money puts extrinsic value is going to be. Maybe a worthwhile play.
It dropped 30%, so I definitely
Correct.
think it's worthy of a
And I'm
premium
happy
sell.
to sell. I'm happy to sell overpriced puts to people who think it'll go down further. Because those people often are price insensitive.
Oh, somebody in the chat sold their shares for 115K profit. I think they made a post about going from 14K to 115K. If you want to come up and talk, just raise your hand.
Oh my.
I think I like Coinbase selling puts. Ivy looks pretty juicy, and I think they continue to be the stalwart in the space. So they're down in sympathy, I think, with Silvergate news, but they seem to be the ones that actually have few, if any, holes in their hull. So they're not seem to be taking on water the way the rest of the crypto finance companies are. Probably sell at the money puts at open.
So with Silvergate, yesterday there was a different person, Slut actually. He had a bunch of it shorted, and I was talking with him. It went from 77% shorted to 70% shorted as of yesterday. So he covered most of his, which was good for him. I'm not sure what he made, but I know that I believe in that. With Coinbase, they just had earnings. They're still losing money. I don't know if you saw the price of Bitcoin overnight, which there's a direct correlation with their stock price, just to take that into your thesis. So it dropped quite a bit, 5%, like immediately. And the only real news was, well, it's not only, but Congress is going to probe Binance, make sure they're not doing an FTX, which they probably are. So hope that helps with your stock or your option picking process.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, Binance would be the elephant in the room for Coinbase now that FTX is out of the picture. And, you know, Coinbase fees, I don't think they're going anywhere anytime fast. So,
well, and the fact that they're a publicly traded company and they have to be
Right.
audited by one of the big four, I do agree with you. It is somewhat of a clearer path for people to.
No, but Binance is not subject to that letter from Congress to Binance. Binance is not subject to any U.S. regulations or regulators.
Sure. So if you want to put foil hat on, there was
No, that's what they said. That was their response to that letter.
Well, I was going to say, sometimes some people were saying the sell-off was in response. You know what I mean? Like someone said, "Oh, really?" and they dumped the market.
I'm just saying what the CEO said in response to that. That's all I'm saying.
Hendricks, go ahead.
Real quick on the whole Silvergate situation. Everybody's trying to figure out if there's any meat left on the bone for Silvergate. I mean, you just look at the stock price. Right now, they're like a $180 million bank. I don't really think there's much meat left on that bone. But if you're just trying to figure out who's the next to collapse, you're basically just shooting in the dark, because you don't know what their balance sheets and their books are. However, you can figure out where all that business and all those transactions are going to go. They are not the only bank in the crypto space. A lot of them have moved already towards Signature Bank, and at the same time, there's stuff coming out about. So as some of the exchanges are moving towards Signature, others are moving away from Signature for a lot of the same crap. So SBNY, if you want to look at the next domino to fall, is likely to be the next domino to fall. However, there is a third and a fourth crypto bank that seem to be relatively untouched by this whole situation. Ticker symbol CUBI, QB, and ticker symbol ICE, Intercontinental Exchange or something like that. These are the next two guys up. They're big companies. Somebody's going to have to handle all this onboarding from US dollars. And I think once all the fallout comes down from all of this shit from Silvergate and SBNY, because SBNY right now is positioned to absorb all of this extra business. However, like I said, there's already signs that people are starting to walk away from SBNY. So you keep going down the list, right?
For those of you who still want to potentially play Silvergate, March 3, so expiring today, 550 puts, last sold for 65 cents. So that represents a roughly 10% gain, a little bit more than that, in one day. If you're confident that the 550 puts will expire worthless. But otherwise, thank you for sharing, Hendricks.
Long pause. I guess I have a question on a play. So I think in September, 3M is supposed to be divesting off their medical, wound care, ortho, and dental divisions. Just curious what the play would be on something like that. I think the company is saying that they're only going to retain about 20% ownership of the new medical company. What would you guys do in this one?
Probably
Sell
stand
some.
aside because the news is already priced in.
Hello. Thank you for having me here today. I just wanted to talk since someone mentioned 3M. I bought the company a few days ago, and I recently sold at about 110.3. I personally liked the play. I think it was pretty good, and I looked at the fundamentals and some hedge funds that recently bought even more stock, even though it was down a lot. And maybe it could go up a bit more, but currently I have no shares left.
What would happen to the current shares? Would they split and you would get part of the new company? I'm just curious because I know there's high margins in their oral care division.
I personally don't know that. Sorry.
I haven't read their announcement, but yes, usually in a general sense, when there's a carve out like that, you do receive the shares in the new company, or if it's going private, you get like a stipend. So, but again, I haven't read the release.
Hey guys, good morning. I'm looking at the Costco March 17th 480 calls. They're sliding a little bit this morning on a slight earnings miss. I haven't had a chance to listen to the call, but I did see somewhere in the chat that they are raising their membership prices. That was something that raised my eyebrow, and I'm thinking about getting into that play on a quick turnaround once people see the value in Costco. Costco, I own shares as well. It's kind of been my hedge against inflation. Just wanted to hear your guys' thoughts. Thanks for your time.
Costco. I love Costco. Where did you pick up the shares? What's the average price on those? Wait, are you doing shares or calls? You said.
I'm holding shares from about 4:30. I'd have to go in. I'm not logged in right now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been good. And again,
what are the calls you said you were thinking of getting?
The calls I'm looking at this morning are March 17th, 480 strike price. And my thesis is on a quick turnaround, possibly a pop at the open. It's only down about 1.5% this morning after their earnings. I'm not sure if any of you guys listened to the call, but I had heard that they're raising their membership prices, and that was what was a catalyst for me.
The membership price is going up basically 10% for all new members who join after October 17, 2022. Existing members receive $5 in. Basically, they're getting some sort of benefit to extend the membership at the old price for another year. So the increase in incremental revenue that Costco will achieve for the membership fees won't be recognized until next year, when at that point the entirety of the member base will have transferred over to the new price. Now, with the new price being 10% higher, the expectation, assuming no one leaves, is that revenue goes up 10%. But to what extent how many people will not renew their membership as a result of this price hike? And is that number of churn smaller than 10%? That's the part that I'm not sure about.
When's the last time Costco raised their membership price? Does anyone know?
Between 5 years and average 5
years
and 7 months between members' prices, according to these couponing sites.
But I said yesterday, what's the alternative? Like, let's say you don't want to go to Costco. Fine, you give up because of the price hike of what, 10%?
You go to
so what's your
General,
alternative?
or you go to ShopRite, or you go to Giant, or you go to Stop and Shop. There are plenty of how do I put this? Lower price but higher unit cost places where people who could no longer afford Costco will end up going instead. Personally,
what about Sam's Club?
I believe they'll be following suit. I haven't checked. Same for BJ's.
Walmart's another one that a lot of people will go to if they don't want to pay for Costco membership.
And I imagine Target Supercenter, is that what they call them? The ones that have grocery inside them.
But you got to think about that. What outweighs the cost of the membership? The savings. So
I'm not arguing that part with you, PP. What I'm asking is how many people or how many memberships will churn or otherwise stop being memberships as a result of this price hike? Because if it's greater than 10%, bearish. If it's less than 10%, bullish. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And while it's true there are alternatives, at least from the couponing subreddit that I'm currently reading through, it doesn't look like these diehard couponers are going to have their own independent Costco memberships. They're now trying to group together. So people who are like geographically in the same place.
I mean, I love Costco. I think that their operation is as smooth as silk. I mean, you walk in, you get your big ass cart. You know, they have all kinds of, it's just so aesthetically pleasing as you walk through it. I'm sounding like a big Costco fanboy right now. And I'm just a believer. You know, they have the gas pumps. I don't know if any of you guys are Costco members, but they have gas at the one by me. And every fucking time I pull up, it's a full house. Like I can't find a parking spot. I'm just, you know, I own the stock as a long-term hedge against inflation. If I'm wrong, you know, if inflation cools down and things get better.
Never wrong with Costco.
Say it again.
You're never wrong with Costco.
Yeah. I mean, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in Costco, and even if the inflation narrative, you know, starts to come in a little bit, and you know the CPI reports start getting rosy, I'm probably still going to hold the stock. But my thesis for again, Hardy, as you mentioned, for calls, I think it was March 17th, is for a turnaround today. Investors buying the dip. So that's my play. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for listening to me.
Does Tuesday Fly still show up?
Who?
Fly. I mean, I can pull up my extended hours report if you guys want that.
I think he's more of the Voldemort type now.
Voldemort? What does that mean?
He must not be named.
Oh God.
Did you guys already talk about the Mt. Gox BTC lockup deal?
No, bring it on.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So Mt. Gox has I don't know the whole story, but what I do know is when the Bitcoins were originally locked up, it was like $200 a coin. They had 137,000 coins locked up, and they're being released soon. That could really kill the price, along with Silvergate imploding, and I think there's also an Ethereum coin lockup that's releasing soon.
I don't know if you meant to mute mid-sentence, but you did.
That's related to the staking thing, but these are all like very well known. So, I mean, do you still think it's going to impact the price, even though everyone's kind of been anticipating this for ages? Or is this a buy the rumor, sell the news?
I mean, with Silvergate imploding right now, and just general pressure, you know, from earnings, whatever ending, and you go get sideways movement. The unlock repayments start on the 10th of March. They'll take 6 months to complete. This will be the biggest BTC unlock ever. I guess it was hacked in like 2014, and they have to pay off these creditors. And I think the average creditor claim is like 39 coins. So it's about 3 billion worth of potential selling pressure just on the BTC side. ETH is unlocking March 23rd, and there's 30 billion worth of it getting unlocked. .
All right, damn, those are big numbers.
So you're saying we're adding supply?
Yeah, basically there was like a massive hack back in 2014, and I don't know all the details on it, but the report that I'm reading from a pretty reputable site is saying all this stuff is unlocking this month. And I mean, granted, how much higher the prices are now versus what they were in March, 2014, I gotta imagine people are gonna sell some of this.
So you got a bearish play? I mean, or bearish thesis, I guess. This is your bearish thesis?
Yeah, I'm just debating on, like, I don't know. I'm a diehard degenerate bull. Don't get me wrong. I love betting on some just completely trash stocks, but for some reason I've been feeling like a bear lately. Started with Tesla, and now it's bleeding into other things. Tesla's like a gateway bear drug. So yeah, I'm debating between just shorting shares to ride it out a little longer, or trying to pick a date and go in with puts. I'm thinking Silvergate
For Tesla? Okay.
No, not Tesla. I'm talking about crypto. So I'm thinking about Silvergate, even though it doesn't have that much more to fall. But definitely coin. I think coin's a little high right now compared to what it could be.
I see. I think for the most part, most of us are not very bearish on crypto as well, generally speaking. Otherwise, we would be long calls on MicroStrategy.
I'm bullish long term.
Sure, but not this year, though. I don't think this year is crypto's year.
And just to your point, they're not adding supply, it's re-adding what was lost. You know what I mean? There's only ever going to be 21 million.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and Copper, when was that article? Just curious, when do you see that? I know that may not be the exact minute that news came out, but when are you reading that from? You mind sharing that?
It came in last night across the feed that I follow on Google. I have a thing on Google that just kind of scrubs the internet for these articles and whatnot, and it popped into my deal last night, because it makes about sense, because this stuff is all coming up next week.
So the price dumped 5% last night, and I couldn't find anything at first. So to me, I feel like that may be a direct correlation. I think it's already had maybe that. Gino, there you are. I know you've been wanting to speak up. You there?
Yes, I am. So the market cap of Bitcoin is around 434 billion. So a $3 billion release is less than 1% of the total market cap of Bitcoin. I'm not sure how that's going to move the market. Aside from that, if you're a creditor and you're going to be getting Bitcoin, and it was valued at around $200 a Bitcoin when it got locked up, and now it's up around 20,000 or whatever it is, I think I'd be hanging on to that instead of selling it. So I'm not sure.
I think most of them would probably sell.
Not with the halving coming up next year, but that's their choice to do. But still, a 1%, if all of them sold, you're looking at about $3 billion worth of Bitcoin, which is less than 1% of the market cap of Bitcoin overall. So I don't know how much of an effect that's going to have. But I hope they do sell. I hope they tank the price down. I hope they do sell. I hope they tank the price down to 11,000. I'd love to see that happen.
So I'm pretty sure once those creditors get those coins, they're going to dump them. But you have to consider the timeline since FTX. We've still had extravagant things happen that are super bearish, and it has not really moved. So that tells me, at least, if someone does decide to dump a bunch of those old ass coins, there's plenty of people out there to buy them up. So in my head, bull.
Guys, are we really debating whether it's going to be bullish or bearish in crypto?
No, it makes sense. He's talking about this event and how it affects the price, then.
Oh, okay. Anyway, somebody
Just
else was
my
talking.
opinion. Just my opinion. People are going to sell because they need the money right now.
All right, sorry. Was someone gonna move on, or?
Yeah, I just want to say that you can short eventually to speculate. You can short Coinbase or MicroStrategy, even if it's just a bounce. BTC side, but I think that will happen because people will sell. That's obvious.
If you don't do Bitcoin or crypto directly, you can also look at BITI, Bravo India Tango India, and BITO, Bravo India Tango Oscar. Those are two crypto Bitcoin ETFs specifically. One is the BITO is the long, BITI is the short. So if you do want to play those and you have a thesis on what's going to happen to the price over the next few months, feel free.
They're based on futures, so it's a little bit different than spot.
Correct.
Another thing to add is the ETH lockup. It was 30 billion of ETH, and ETH's market cap is only 200 billion. So 30 is a little bit bigger of a percentage there. Now, are they going to dump all of it? Probably not, but I don't know. I just don't feel great about it over the next couple of months, so I'm trying to find a short play on it.
Fair. Maybe let's move on from crypto. I feel like people are losing interest.
Hey, can we talk about Nintendo?
Absolutely. What are they
Let's
up?
go.
Right, so Nintendo just got downgraded by Goldman, and it seems like the big reason behind their thesis of downgrading Nintendo is that they haven't released a console since they released the Switch back in like 2017. Now, Nintendo's prices dropped to their 6-year low, which for me is still is showing growth over the last like 15, 20 years. But it's a really good time, I think, to buy into Nintendo while people are talking about like the lack of a new console. Because this was the same conversation people had before 2017. It just sounds exactly like what people were saying. We were like, Nintendo doesn't have a new console, their material is outdated. Then they dropped the Switch and a bunch of new games, and they creamed everybody. And it happens every single time before Nintendo releases a new console. I hear people talk about like, oh, well, like what have they done? And then they hit the Wii, and then people were like, oh, this is really great. And then, and I don't know how many times we're going to have the same conversation about whether or not Nintendo has staying power. But it seems like every time people make this argument, it's wrong. And so Nintendo has the Mario movie coming out in April. They've got a brand new Zelda game coming out in like 2 weeks. I just feel like they actually still have a lot of momentum. And then there's word on the street that there's going to be a new console in 2024, in late 2024. So I feel like before any of these, and like the announcement of a new console, if that's really their timeline for releasing a new console, this is a great time to buy up stocks with a dip. So anywhere between like anything below 10, I would say is a good place to buy Nintendo right now, and just try to pick up as many shares as you can.
As a Nintendo investor, I'd be concerned about the Steam Deck.
What's the ticker symbol, by the way?
NTDOY is the ADR for Nintendo.
Wouldn't the Steam Deck be a very different audience while it does play into a handheld, which Nintendo does a lot of? Nintendo's thing is that they have their own specific games, right?
Well, yeah, you're never going to have the exclusives that Nintendo has. That's like their big selling point, is like your Mario and Zelda franchises. But the playability of the Steam Deck and the titles that they're pushing are very user-friendly games, and it's each update that they push out for the Steam Deck is becoming more and more similar to the capability of the Switch.
Well, remember, I think they have a 10-year contract to get Call of Duty on Nintendo.
So I get the comment about the Steam Deck. I just think for a lot of people who get a Nintendo product, they're getting it because they want to play Pokemon, they want to play Zelda, they want to play Mario. Like, it's one of those franchises that it's like, I'm there for that game. Or to be fair, it's probably more like my kids want to play Pokemon, right? And that's kind of locked into Nintendo specifically.
So I do agree with that, but I mean they're releasing like a lot of Disney games on Steam, and most of the time they're coming out on Steam before they hit Nintendo, so that's another thing.
This is really random, sort of related to Nintendo, but a few years ago I bought like a Super Nintendo Classic when they re-released them. Like it came with the like preloaded games on it, and I've been recently playing it, and I've been having a lot of fun. I kind of put it away for a while, but why did they stop making those things? They could make a lot of more. Like they stopped making them like a year or two after releasing them. And I feel like they could make a shit ton of money if they just resold them again.
I know exactly why they're doing it, because they're trying to sell the Switch Online service, and they have more games on the Switch Online for Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, N64. And a while back, people were looking at a patent for like an N64 controller, and they thought that meant they were going to release a new mini device, but that turned out to be just a controller for the Switch. So I think they're trying to get subscriptions like a Netflix model. So that's another selling point for Nintendo.
And I have that little Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and you're right, they're awesome, and they really should have made more. Even at this launch, before I think they had these plans, they kept them very limited. They were obnoxious to get.
Yeah, I only paid like $80 for it, and it's totally worth that.
My mom literally just bought one for my nephews, and they love it. They've been playing it for like the last 3 days, nonstop. I mean, the problem is that you cannot deny the addictive quality of Nintendo games. They make good games.
Sorry to get out of the request that we get out of the qualitative stuff, but we've got 1 minute to market open. So, any actual Nintendo plays or trade ideas?
I would say buy, but if you want to do options, I would say you want to do as far out as possible, call options as close to the money as you can get. When they went up, when they released the Switch, the price of Nintendo went from like $6 to about $11, so it almost doubled. So if you can get out to like 2024, that's what I'd aim for.
Yeah, no, sounds good. All right, what else?
Are you guys buying or shorting the market today? I see the market stocks are up. Why? I haven't really been paying attention.
For me, just non-directional trades.
Casino open.
Yeah, I'm just buying shares right now. I feel like the market is depressed, and I'm looking for my cigarette butt stocks right now.
I'm definitely bullish on Nintendo too. I'm just keeping a close eye on it because I play both systems. I have a kid too, and I have a feeling as he grows up, he might be more interested in one versus the other.
Hey, what do you think about that 10-year deal that Nintendo has with with Activision to get Call of Duty? You think like since you said you have a kid, you think people in that age range are excited about it, or that sales are going to go up?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the reason that franchise exists is because it's easy to pick up and play, and it's mindless, and it's one of the most popular titles ever. I don't prefer it exactly, but I know why it sells, and I think it'll probably end up being a good deal for Nintendo.
My only concern with that and trying to price that in is the fact that there's still pretty sure there's still an FTC lawsuit about like the whole Microsoft Activision merger, and I don't know if that's accurate, and I apologize if it's not. But I thought.
But I mean, it's not really a merger; it's just a commitment from Activision for 10 years for Call of Duty.
But what he's
Also
referring
making-
to is, I can speak to it. They're doing that so they can get around the talk of being a monopoly, if you will. And it's the British case.
Oh, okay.
Block it. So that's why he's bringing it up.
Gotcha. Thank you.
My thing about that deal is, like, for the Nintendo Switch, they're not going to be getting the best Call of Duty. It's comparable to like PS5, Xbox.
Hey, we're having a little trouble holding audio. You might have to switch to like off of speaker maybe.
And that's also the selling point of the Steam Deck is it's the base model is $399. You could pop a micro SD card in there and fit like 1 terabyte one in there and put all your games on it, and it's backwards compatible forever. So if the problem with the Nintendo is that they lock down everything. So if they do come out with a new console, like, you're gonna have to migrate all that stuff over, and it's kind of a pain.
But when people compare the Steam Deck with the Nintendo handheld console, we know it's a fact that the product is inferior to the Steam Deck. That's a given. But what's not accounted for is just the IP of the games, the IP. They're very popular for Nintendo. That's the sole reason people buy the console, so they can be on the go to play those games.
Yeah, I think if
Yeah.
you're going one-to-one comparison, anything that's on Nintendo and on something else, Nintendo's probably worse for it, right? Again, I think the people who buy a Switch want it because they want to play the list of Nintendo-specific games. They get that, like, Call of Duty's better on your PlayStation or whatever. So, yeah, I don't see that as being a thing.
That is true. So, like, there's a game that's very similar to Zelda called Tunic, and that came out on Steam first, and I was looking at reviews on YouTube for it, and one of the guys, he had, like, I don't know, however many millions of subscribers, but he was saying that if Steam keeps pushing out those clones and they start to become as good as Nintendo titles, it's going to make people pause a little bit.
Well, I mean, okay, so here's a counter thesis to this. Everyone always thinks that more is better, right? And that's kind of the thesis with the Steam Deck. It's like, well, look at all the stuff they have. Well, as a parent, for me, less is actually what I'm looking for.
Hey,
So
Trash.
when I'm buying-
Hey, Trash. Sorry, I should have told you this a
Yeah.
long time ago, but your mic's not great either. You're kind of echoey.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. After the comment, I'm going to try to switch to a different device.
No,
but
I think I made it worse. I'm sorry.
Well, about that less is more comment,
Is
like,
this better?
there's no physical games for Steam, so that for people that are trying to be a little bit more minimalist, you just need that Steam Deck and you download everything. So there's very little to do with it.
So the thing I like about Nintendo, all I'm saying is that I like the fact that the majority of the games that are being made by Nintendo are built to be child friendly.
Yeah, and the fact that there's less titles makes it easier for him to keep track of what he can allow his kids to play and what he can't.
Agree with that thesis. I like it.
Every time I consider buying Nintendo, whether this is right or wrong, I always look at what they have upcoming on their big titles, because that's what buys and sells consoles. The reason I've always gotten a Nintendo console whenever I got one, GameCube, Wii, Switch, it's Super Smash Brothers, it's Zelda, it's Fire Emblem, it's Mario. If you see those names, I think you're going to see sales.
Animal Crossing over the pandemic was fire.
Yeah, I own every single Nintendo system that's ever came out. I think another thing to add into this is nostalgia. A lot of the millennials in their 30s and whatever grew up on these games, and I mean, it's like GoldenEye 007, Smash Brothers, Mario Kart. This stuff is like ingrained in our brains. I think what Nintendo has to figure out how to do is bring in more revenue past just the sale of the game and the sale of the console. Like, every new Zelda game that comes out, I'm going to buy it. Every new console that comes out, I'll probably buy it. But all these other manufacturers have figured out how to get, like, a lot more DLC or pay-to-play stuff, you know?
Yeah, the margins are so high on DLC. One thing Nintendo does that I appreciate, though, they've found good older games that really hold up, and they remaster them and release them at not a cheap price, but not a prime price either. Like Tales of Symphonia just dropped. Anyone who ever played that game as a kid, most of you probably would have been teenagers when that came out. You could put that up against most AA RPGs and some AAA RPGs if you update the graphics. And I think that was a really sharp move from them. And if they keep doing that, they will just print money.
All right, going back, I think that Electronic Arts messed up the games when they made these little microtransactions that they just pay to play. I didn't like it. I really did not like it.
I agree. They executed it wrongly because you could, like when the first Battlefront came out, you could just start with the DL-44 if you paid for it and just run around one-shotting everyone to the point that it damaged gameplay. But I think the season pass strategy is probably optimal, and Nintendo's been doing that. They're not the only developer to do it, but selling game plus season pass that lines you up for future DLC, whenever I see that, I think I'm seeing success down the line with companies.
I will drop selling the game completely and just selling a membership to be able to play the game. It's just like going to an amusement park.
Hey, Skull. See you there. Hope you're feeling well. Got any plays, buddy? Not to cut this conversation off, but... And he hung up. Anyhow.
Can anybody here maybe answer a quick technical question for me?
Why don't you ask and we will try. How's that?
All right. I just started selling covered call options this week. It's my first foray into options trading on the platforms. If I have an open call option that doesn't expire until today, and I hit the button on it that says close position, and either it costs so much or it gains so much, what exactly does that mean and what does that do? Because I feel like I'm not fully understanding that.
If you sold a call option, all you're doing is buying a call option back. Therefore, you're getting rid of the commitment that you have. That's all that means. So.
Okay, so you can kind of day trade these then, like their own individual thing. So if I buy the thing, or if I sell the call option, and then the price of the call option for that same strike and expiration goes down, I can buy it back. It closes out, and then I can go and sell another one if the price goes back up.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to be real clear on that before I did it, because I didn't want to make an accidental, very expensive mistake.
As long as what you're describing is accurate, then yes.
Speaking for loose, Stellantis is still going up.
Anybody got thoughts on Disney with the rumor that they might sell 67% stake in Hulu?
I would say that's bullish for them because Hulu has been a dog turd.
Agreed.
Yeah, they're just letting go of their bags at this point.
Yeah, the best show on Hulu is Letterkenny or Shoresy. Beyond that, it's garbage.
I'll
These
be
are for
honest,
their.
I only get Hulu for the shitty reality TV.
I think with Bob Iger now on back as the CEO, he's gonna have to make some tough decisions. Just very drastic decisions to get Disney back into, to get them in the eyes of their shareholders.
I might be in the minority, but I'm using Hulu for the live TV, and all the other services don't really provide a good version of that. I think YouTube might have live TV, but I don't think they have as much content.
Do you watch live TV shows and news, or do you watch live TV sports? Just asking to ask.
I'm not big into sports, but one of the reasons for the live TV is because it also opens up the library to more things that you don't get with the base service, and you can DVR things for free.
Okay, I was just curious. I'm not much of a live TV guy myself.
Yeah, I mean it's mostly to be able to take the thinking out of it. So like, you could just pick something without scrolling through an endless list of titles I've already seen.
Yeah, just pop something on, see what's on. I kind of see the appeal.
Have you guys seen the news? Nordstrom leaving Canada? It's kind of a big thing. It's like the second retailer leaving this year.
Where are they going? Did Canada like hike their taxes or something?
Guess it's just not profitable enough for them. It's kind of weird because the last few years they expanded a lot of big stores. Like it's a
Is that an apple? Sounds delicious.
it's Vector cereal.
I did not see they were closing their their Canada operations. I don't know how much of a revenue that was for them. I think a lot of people are going down that track of efficiency, so they're cutting off and laying off people. They're cutting off arms that aren't as profitable and laying off some areas. So that may be how they're doing cost cutting.
Yeah, definitely. I see. As we're talking about it, I got an email. They're closing 13 stores of Nordstrom and Nordstrom Rec around Canada.
13's not that much, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, that's not. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the retailers like Bobby's named, 75, 100 and something, and they got out of Canada too. So may not be the best run company. So I don't necessarily think it's a Canada thing, more as a company specific.
Cutting costs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Oops.
A retail cigar butt I've been kind of looking at is QRTEA. They're the home shopping network, and you wonder, like, if Nordstrom's is closing, right? Who shops at Nordstrom's? Old people. They're going to have to start shopping more on e-commerce and online. So it's kind of pushing the last little bit of the consumers that are still going to physical stores somewhere. And this company in particular targets, their target demographic is women over 60, and they spend like 70% of all the shopping that's done is done by women. And most of their clients, or most of their customers, spend on average $1,400 a year on their store. So I look at them as a streaming service where you pay $1,400 a year to belong.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before. I'm a no on this idea. It loses money. I just think it's a dated kind of business.
I think what was coming up in their earnings call, which was interesting, this was a new aspect for me, was
I see the stock price is like $1 something now.
yeah,
Sorry.
it took another hit after their earnings came out because their earnings was pretty bad. But they have this marketing channel that's super powerful and that works. And other companies have tried to copy them and they failed. Amazon's tried it, and other companies have approached them. And in the Q&A of the earnings call, he said, we get regular approaches from other industries that want to get their message out there, and they kind of like, I guess I'm thinking of an example of, let's say a gaming league wants to increase the amount of people that are interacting with their service. Well, they can use the knowledge that this company has, which dates back to the mid 80s, on how to engage with your audience and how to get them to buy stuff from you.
So I just looked up the return on equity. It's negative 170%. Please don't invest in this, guys.
I and the more I look at them, they're just a cash
Just don't.
flow machine. But I mean,
Who listens to earning calls of home shopping networks? You're a weird dude, man.
I know, man.
loves this stock.
I'm in
He's
love
been
with
on
this
it before.
company. I'm in love with this
He loves
company.
It's okay. He
Wait.
loves it.
What company
To
are
be
we talking
fair,
about?
though, these
QRTEA.
Do you work for this company?
No, I just this is one of those companies that I've kind of been looking at, and I know I'm falling into the trap of the more I look, the more
You
I
are a
find
fanboy, and it's not.
great.
I don't mean that in a bad way. You're not
Yeah.
looking at the fundamentals. You see it as a story stock. So I mean, to give you credit, I'm not trying to completely squash your idea here, but you love
So-
the idea of it, right?
I do, and there's another ticker that you can follow as an indicator. I think QRTEP, and it is a preferred share they issued back in 2020 after they had a huge windfall of earnings from the pandemic. It was issued at $100, and it pays an $8 per share dividend. So that price, I would look at that. Could you use that price as a barometer of the company's health? Because clearly that hasn't dipped below $30 since the summer. Like it dipped down to 34. And they recently just made another payment on it. So
Do you own any of those? Just curious.
I don't. I mean, I own the A versions. I mean, after Burry bought it, I kind of looked at it, and the more I kind of researched their strategy,
about
the
again?
more I loved it. QRTEA.
Like the home shopping network, basically.
Exactly. Yep. And that's been around since the 80s, and basically has an immense amount of experience of selling to a customer base that doesn't typically change their buying behavior. They're one of the few companies a few streaming services that target 60 plus women, and those people buy all the stuff. I mean, I don't see how that company could just vaporize. If not, it'd be purchased by someone.
I mean, when the 60 plus women aren't there anymore, who's your customer base?
But the demographic for the aging population over the next 10 years is going to do nothing but explode.
Yeah, I was just going to
And they're
say.
going to go back to an 80s based shopping system, or are they going to stick with Amazon?
No,
I
like
don't
this
see
is
it.
their service. Basically, their strategy is to start hooking women as they become mothers, and then basically lure them into their ecosystem.
It's my strategy too.
Are there any? Okay, hold on. Are there any women?
Mine
in the
doesn't
chat
work,
right-
but-
hold on. Are there any women in the chat right now? I know we've been bringing them up more. Is there any opinions on the home shopping network? Do you know what the home shopping network is besides a meme?
I haven't even had cable in the last 10 years.
So
I'm just saying it's a niche market. I mean, if you you just look at the history of their customer
What's the
base.
stock ticker again? You said
QRTEA.
Hold on, Larson. Were you going to say something? Please say something.
Yeah, I think it's a really flawed theory because those people are going to age out and die, and the people that replace them weren't raised on this. They're going to stick to what they were raised on, which is the internet.
But what you have to remember is when you're 20 years old, all the marketing appeals to you. And as you become 40, the stuff that you see all the time doesn't appeal to you anymore because all the marketing is trying to attain the younger people. Well, those people go somewhere and they end up here at the Home Shopping Network.
It's called Florida and Arizona.
Here's the thing. What you're essentially saying is I think the millennial raised on, maybe older Zoomer millennial raised on Amazon purchasing next day delivery from Amazon is eventually going to reach an age where they're going to go, you know what, Amazon just doesn't speak to me anymore. I'm off the Home Shopping Network.
In a way, I'm saying that, and I'm saying that basically what the way they describe their customers is it's someone who likes to socialize, who has lots of money, and likes to enjoys the conversation that's happening on television.
So I guess my next question is, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
And I'm saying that that's has been a historic, sound, solid revenue source, in the sense that it's not about growing the number of customers. It's about extracting the cash from them.
So then why are they
their
trading
average
under
customer
ticker?
spends $1,400 a year.
This is fucking retarded.
Yeah, why
A lot of
aren't they being
copium
publicly
today,
traded?
guys.
Like, come on, dude.
I don't see your play, to be honest, because back in the day, what made the home shopping network very appealing was that you can do installment plans. Today, we don't need that. We have a firm. We have all these other companies. We have credit cards.
Well,
I just don't see it, to be honest.
Yeah. Also, to allure these people over to it, they would have to have TV and watch TV. They don't do, like, there's no way for the network to reach them. They just, unless they start advertising on the internet, and then they've really just kind of switched their methods.
Cable, not just TV.
I'm just saying, look at the
I don't know
historic.
any
I mean, pull up their 20-year chart and look at their revenue. It's as solid as you could get.
I am surprised by their revenue. 2020. I see their 2020 revenue was $14 billion.
It's a predatory company. That's where they're getting their revenue.
Yeah, it sounds like a company.
It's
that's
it's a streaming service. That's
No,
a
and
shopping
I've
channel.
heard it a couple times. It's not a streaming service. That's hilarious. That's
So
not
are you holding the share because Burry still has shares or something, or what?
He brought me. I mean, I didn't know this company was such a cash cow until he bought it, and I started looking at it.
Because he sold like 70% of his shares.
And he's bought it before. And look at the price on this share got down to as low as $1.07 in 2008, and it shot up to over 16.
all good things must come to an end, and I think this has a time limit on it. I'm more inclined to believe that money is coming from drug money laundering than actually 60-year-old women.
I'm just worried this stock will become a penny stock, hit pink sheets, file bankruptcy, and then boom, you lost it all.
Well, we'll have to see. I've just, maybe I am hopped up on copium or something. But
No, you're not, dude. And people in their twilight years spend way more time in front of the TV than these guys are giving them credit for. Not to mention the amount of screens old people have on them at any given time has increased. Like when I visited my parents, my mom had an iPad, an Apple Watch, a phone, a fucking Alexa in the kitchen.
That's what's
TV in her
speeding
bedroom,
up for
a
them.
TV in the office, a TV in the den, and like there's some shit always on the TV. It's just a matter of getting it to be integrated into something like Amazon. So if the Home Shopping Network or whoever we're talking about says, hey, order this shit, it'll get sent to you directly through Amazon, that's bullshit as fuck. Because these people are living longer. Like, they're not dying in their 60s, they're living to their 80s, especially the women. The women are living longer than the men. So all these ladies that are retiring now are going to be around for 25 years.
I mean, I've seen statistics of where I live, and they've been saying that the amount of nursing homes that we need to build to house these people in the next 10 to 20 years is astounding. And that means the frickin' market is only going to grow. And yes, not everybody watches this, but clearly enough people watch it that they can make $30 a share every year since 2018. And the share price is at $1.06. And then you can look at the preferred share that was at $100, is now trading at $46. They just came out with earnings. They just announced that they're going to pay that preferred share at $8 a share. And the share price for that preferred share is holding up. And I kind of think maybe that's a barometer of their of their life, of their bloodline, watching that ticker.
I'm not going to shoot down the company. I think you sold your case on it, and I think people have, played devil's advocate and told you why it sucks or is a retarded idea. But in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be a tough quarter for retail coming up. So this company needs to figure out how to generate more profit off of this aging population.
Haven't they missed earnings the past like 5 times in a row?
They also had a giant warehouse fire in 2001.
Bullish on insurance. What? Can't move your stuff? Burn it to the
Except
ground.
Geico.
That sounds like
To
insurance.
segue-
supposed to be.
Please don't buy Geico. Please don't buy Geico.
To
Did you
segue
watch this a
from
lot? Can I ask you a question? Did you have this on in the home a lot when you were a kid? The Home Shopping Network? The Perma Bull? I forget your name, sorry. The Perma Bull? Did you watch it a lot?
You may have
He's
just
talking
hit
to the
hard in
copium
the
guy.
feels.
That's the
Eager Beaver.
Eager Beaver guy. Yeah.
Let's not be too mean now, even if we don't agree with people's plays. People. have
No,
their
I'm
plays.
not. I'm not being mean. I'm just really trying to get to the heart of it. So I mean,
No,
it's
it
really
wasn't
like
necessarily you, but there are people like
Okay.
the copium guy, the
Oh,
regarded
sorry.
guy. Like, let's like, to a degree.
No, I'm gonna call it like I see it. This is fucking retarded.
Yeah, it's,
Your
yeah.
name. Your
We spent a
name
lot of
fucking
time on this.
checks
Like,
out.
I was going to be like, can we talk about crypto, Nintendo, anything, Silvergate, something?
he-
Alibaba.
so he was
Bring something else up.
E3, 20%.
so he
Whoever
was
called that out
talking about
yesterday.
the aging population. My play for that is UNH. It's a stock that's gone up exponentially since the beginning of time, and it's still undervalued right now. So
50-50 portal, UNH, and Costco. It's a straight line up and to the right.
you probably saw my post about UNH and McDonald's.
Nice.
Well,
Yeah.
UNH since inception, I think they have a 2,500% return. So I'm definitely bullish on UNH.
Is that a
The only
retirement home?
issue, like the only bear case for it, is a single payer healthcare system, which I don't see ever happening in the
That's never
United
gonna
States.
happen though.
Yeah.
I think UNH is protected.
I
But
cannot
it's a
believe
very
that I fucking sold out my fucking Shopify calls expiring fucking today at 41.5, okay? For fucking Costco calls. What the fuck, my PP? What
What do you
the
mean?
fuck?
What do you mean? you bought Costco yesterday?
Yeah, motherfucker, I bought Costco yesterday. Yeah, you had a great fucking bull case. I was like,
No,
you
no,
know,
no. No, you asked me before if the bull case was short term or long term. I told you long term, not
Okay.
short term.
Fair. Then everybody's like, well, the fucking hot dogs are great and it's recession proof. Fuck you and your hot dogs. and the
Easy.
Not wrong.
I mean, I told you they don't make a lot of money.
The hot dogs are a marketing play. At a loss, they sell that.
And
Bro,
they have
I
that like crazy cool like pizza sauce spreader.
I was like, you know what? Like, I was gonna go into like AI's call. I was like, you know, maybe I'll pick up some calls here, but I was like, fucking Costco seems great right now. Like,
Did you go to Did you have to do your DD? Did you go to Costco?
yeah, I did my DD and I jerked the fuck off. That's what happened.
So what you're saying is you had plays you liked, but you listened to some random dude on the internet instead, and now the money's gone.
And now
Like,
AI.
You gotta
what he's
read my
saying.
flare. My
No,
flare
let
says
me
follow for me.
clarify. I had plays that I liked, and I listened to stranger online and said, you know what? This stranger has a great.
No, don't say me. Don't
No,
say me. I said
PP.
long term
No,
play.
PP. Fuck that, man.
So
I said long term play.
Go ahead.
I'm up 35% off 2 plays in the last 2 days off here.
So look at it this way. You learned a lesson, and in the future, maybe listen to your gut, because at least then
No,
when you
he
lose
misheard
money...
the lesson. He misheard the lesson.
Hey,
Fuck the
it's
lesson.
all good.
Fuck
It's
the
all
lesson.
good.
I gotta say, like, even when we were kind of beating up on that Eager Beaver guy, I think our comments were still much nicer than the visual mod AI. That dude is mean.
He's going to be a war criminal, and I'll just stop.
Oh,
there.
Vismod? Yeah.
You guys realize it's just ZJZ.
Yeah, that's what makes it scarier.
And also, I mean, you know, look, he might be right. Like, when I was going short on Tesla for Investors Day, everybody was giving me grief about that.
Dude, I was just about to ask. I bought puts too on Investor Day, but I sold way too soon.
Yeah, but there's too many degens with Tesla. Like that's kind of a whole different category. This is keyword TEA. It's nobody really knows about it, nor care.
Tesla's stock price is like 100% market manipulation and has no bearing on reality. Like, there's no point in even like fucking with it at this point because there's nothing that you can learn that's gonna help you to figure out where the price is gonna go tomorrow.
Yeah, Elon would have to get hit by an asteroid like that one dude said for it to crash.
That was me.
Was
Let's
that
be real,
you?
though. Let's be real though. We've been on these talks long enough to know what's going to happen in a month. Home Shopping Network will be up like 85%, and that dude's
Right.
gonna come back and be like, "Y'all motherfuckers said you didn't want to do it," and he's gonna be the smartest guy in the group.
Unless he listened to us and sold.
Or it doesn't happen and then we forget that he ever brought
Let
us
me just make one final argument for Home Shopping Network, okay? And it's this: Home Shopping Network, believe it or not, already has a marketing scheme on the internet, but it's not what you think it is. It's actually through like Facebook and TikTok influencers, which is, you know, where their market of 80-year-old people are right now is on TikTok and Facebook. And so they're marketing to them through influencers. It's not just about like whether or not you're like watching QVC. So don't fool yourself into thinking that like the only way they make sales is people like watching the thing on cable and making orders.
So why aren't they publicly traded? Like, why are they going through this other whatever company?
It's because it's dead. Can we bring somebody up during the chat? They want to talk.
So, speaking of Silvergate,
Alexander.
is anybody looking at SBNY?
Nah, but I bought a bunch of Silvergate puts a little while ago, and they're already doing well.
Yeah, I would look at SBNY. So basically, Silvergate was the canary in the coal mine as far as crypto banking, and a lot of the companies that are leaving Silvergate are moving to SBNY. But SBNY seems to have some issues going on because Kraken, which is a major exchange, was banking with them and was basically asked to leave because of some money laundering issues that they may have ran into early on when they were paying employees via PayPal and basically washing money through PayPal accounts. But SBNY is not the de facto crypto bank, so I don't see a bloodbath coming for them per se. But I think if these people leaving Silvergate go to SBNY and then the feds come after SBNY for what happened with Kraken, there's going to be SBNY in the news and more exchanges leaving and more fines coming. And plus, there's a ton of meat left on that bone. So I think we go puts out to September on SBNY with the thesis that it could be worse than people know right now, and it gets down into the range of where Silvergate's at. Those are going to be printing, but just keep your ear to the ground because there's more news coming out.
To the guy that's mad about Costco, you must be new here.
Bro, I've been here since the fucking China trade war. They shut the fuck up.
That's what you wanted to come up to say?
Yeah.
I appreciate. First of all, I think that was very important information. Thank you, Alexander.
You're welcome.
What kind of strike prices are you looking at on those puts?
How many calls did you get? What strike price?
No, I didn't get calls. I was looking at the strike for September, specifically the 60, but the 60 is super juiced. So what I've been doing is basically, all right, you can look at this as like a correlated trade. Just run up BTC, Coinbase, Silvergate, SBNY. BTC goes down, Coinbase goes down, Silvergate goes down, SBNY doesn't really move right. As soon as the FTX collapse happens, now SBNY and Silvergate start trading super correlated. Anytime Silvergate news comes out about crypto exchanges, SBNY moves down with it. Then this past week, the SEC basically knocked at Silvergate's door, and you guys see what's happening now. But the move hasn't come in on SBNY per se to the same level, obviously, because all the attention is on Silvergate. So the reason I'm looking out till September is I'm trying to find a moment when the IV's lower, because obviously there's a lot of attention on crypto banking right now, to where I can buy puts, hoping that there's another drawdown in crypto banking and that it gets into the 60s. I know it seems stupid right now, but if you look what happened with like Silvergate, Nobody would have thought when Silvergate was trading in the 200s that it would be in the 6s within a year.
Yeah, but everything associated with Bitcoin is correlated in some way. I mean, you can
But
say the
it's
same thing
not,
with
man, because
MicroStrategy.
the correlation breaks. Like,
No,
and
it's
that's what I'm
correlated.
saying. Look at Silvergate correlation to
Well, I think
SPNY.
Silvergate's very sorry not to jump in, degenerate.
No, go
but
ahead.
Silvergate, with them saying basically they have to claim bankruptcy this week, that was their big news. You know, the SEC and the investigation was probably 2 or 3 weeks back. They did mention that, and on the call I said it was a no touch for me. But so that correlation, I agree with you. There probably is that kind of triangulation, if you will, correlation. But it may have been broken this week just because now they've said bankrupt, right?
Oh, it definitely broke this week. And that's what I'm saying. And so I'm saying
3 months after they got some hedge fund money too. That's crazy.
It's down 96%.
Oh, it's not
Oh
even
my
months.
God.
It's like weeks after they got the hedge fund money.
I
Literally.
thought it was December and the news broke later.
No, it was early this month, late January, early this month, and it was Citadel and all of them. And short interest was up to 77%. As of yesterday, it was down to 70%. So that means 10% of the shorts have covered with the bankruptcy news. I don't know what the hedge funds have done or how bad their losses are, because most of them bought in when it was in the teens.
I mean, the person that's taking the L is the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco, because they gave Silvergate $4.3 billion when Silvergate had a bank run. So if you look at their last 2 earnings, Silvergate basically said, hey, we're bankrupt. You know, when they released their earnings numbers, their EPS was negative $33 per share, and nobody paid attention.
Okay, so you're bearish on Silvergate.
No, what I'm saying is you guys are paying attention to Silvergate. It's at $6. There's barely any meat left on the bone. The hedgies are manipulating the price. Meanwhile, SPNY is over there. It was trading in the 120s when all this shit started coming out with Silvergate. And if it has the same poison apples rotting in its bank account balances, then that thing is due for a haircut, and there's a ton of meat on the bone.
It's actually $5.
Yeah, just shave $5, dude. You still got $5 worth of meat on that.
What's the short interest?
On Silvergate.
Short float.
Oh, no, or the other stock, sorry. Silvergate at 70% as of yesterday.
I don't have the short interest off the top of my head on SPNY.
Does anybody have any China plays coming up for this first half of the year?
I got
Yeah,
a question.
sell your TSM, because chip manufacturing is getting pulled out of Taiwan because of China.
Yeah, be
Doing
careful.
cash secured puts on Yang in anticipation of another Chinese crash.
Hey, can I squeeze in real quick? I'm up 19 on C3 since yesterday. What, you guys think that's a seller, or should I hold it?
Get the fuck out, bro. Not financial advice.
All right, I'm out then.
Profit's profit, bro. I would love to say that today on my Costco, but you know.
No, I know. So, and with CIA3, all they did was lose less money than expected. They still lost money in the quarter, so definitely sell that gain, right?
I'll take it.
Yeah, the earnings was surprising that with that news, it fucking pumped 20%. So yeah, I would shave and then re-enter if you need to.
I do like that SBN and Y case, though. It does have a shitload of meat on its bones. I just don't know.
Yeah, the main thing you don't want to happen is like get too aggressive by the September 60s, and then all the crypto exchanges that leave Silvergate start banging at SBNY, and then everything's back to normal and your puts are dead.
How much delay are you talking about here, though? You said there's a delay between everyone's got their eyes on SI. Like, we're talking about long-dated puts here?
So yesterday when we were trading the Silvergate, well, I mean, granted, like the Silvergate thing has been in the news for a while, but yesterday there was an opportunity to basically sell the Silvergate puts for like 1,200% return, flip them into the SBNY puts, make another 10 bagger, and that's what people were doing. But it's because nobody was paying attention to Silvergate, but SBNY was coming down with it because Kraken had just left. But Ledger is going from Silvergate to SBNY, so that's a major player in crypto. For those of you with hardware, you know who Ledger is. Paxos left Silvergate. That's someone who could go to SBNY. But there are other crypto banks. So shout out to Hendrix. He pointed out QB, which is CUBI. So there are crypto banks that need clients, and Silvergate just lost most of theirs. So keep an eye to your respective Twitter feeds and shit, and let me know if you hear anything about SBNY.
Bet. I got a play here, guys. Kind of want your opinion on it. Since the beginning of the year, SPCE fucking Virgin Galactic bullshit, they've been on a slow come up. Are they expecting another launch? Like, is this another anticipation to another launch, or is this just short interest bullshit?
Virgin Galactic, they don't really do launches. It's space tourism. They're selling seats on their I forget what it's called, their spaceship or whatever, that takes people up in orbit for a short period of time. Not into orbit, takes them up into space, near low space, for a short period of time, and brings them back down. I think you can buy tickets on it for a couple of $100,000.
Last time they did a launch and it failed. What do you mean they don't do launches? They're testing launches, if that's what you mean.
Well, they're not like rockets. I mean, you've seen them, right? It's got like this little spaceship that they take it up. They piggyback it on another vehicle, and then once they get to a high enough altitude, they launch it as like this airplane / spaceship. But it's for space tourism. They're not doing like supply missions to the space stations. They're not launching satellites. It's basically space tourism.
But I think he's just asking, that still affects you're right, but that still affects the stock price.
Right, so I'm saying, like, I've seen the video. I saw his ass go up there, his old ass fly up there and come back down as an astronaut. God bless him, right? Anyway.
Well, no, he's not an astronaut according to NASA.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
NASA's choosing qualifications, so you have to actually do some astronaut shit to be an astronaut.
Apparently not with Blue Origin. Everyone gets a fucking pin.
No, they don't. NASA.
Not anymore.
Bezos is not getting his pin or his patch.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So, like, Virgin Galactic is just selling more tickets, and then they're just gonna post it, or like, it just doesn't make sense to me right now that they've just been on a solid bull run since the beginning of the year. I mean, I wouldn't say solid, but an uptrend, I guess.
Uptrend? You're talking about ticker symbol
we're talking
SPCE?
Yeah, we're talking about the stock that was trading at like $50, and now it's at $5. Is that what?
Yep. Yeah.
Do they still have?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
That's not an upward trend, bro.
And I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the stock that's down 95%.
No. When I say upward trend, I mean from the beginning of the year, but not from when it used to be. I'm just saying from when it, I guess.
Oh,
January
year to date.
Yes, year to date.
I mean, I'm not sure.
You mean like start of the like the calendar year?
He literally said, guys, don't zoom out, zoom in.
Yeah, no, zoom out, zoom in. Yeah.
If you go on the site, you can probably see how much they're charging for tickets and how far out they're booked, and that might give you an idea of what kind of revenue they can generate. But I haven't really been following them that close.
What? So what is this bull run you're talking about? Because
okay, this donkey run, is that better? This donkey run, this motherfucker's on.
It's still not recovered to its February price.
Dude, he's talking about, you gotta zoom in, man. You gotta do
zoom
in.
in. Oh, so like in the last 3 days, it's been on a bull run. Got it.
Yes. You gotta do.
Okay,
He's looking at year to
understood.
date. Yeah.
My year started at the Chinese New Year, bro.
I don't know if you've heard or not. There's an Adderall shortage. So, but anyhow, go ahead.
Fuck you guys. I love you guys.
All right, so we're talking about the bottom of the bull run. What's up with that? What's your question on that?
You know what? I don't even have a fucking question anymore. Fuck them.
All right. Well, I forgot the billionaire's name, but Yeah, we're buying puts, long-term puts.
Hey, I got a great game. I got a great game for y'all guys. Every time he says the word "fuck," you gotta take a shot. I know it's early in the morning, but hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Breakfast
Bro,
of
It's
champions.
Friday.
Fuck is in my name, bro.
How about a sip of coffee? I can do that.
How about no? You gotta take
With whiskey.
Calls on Bailey's in my coffee, baby.
I mean, it's not the worst of the space stocks. That would be Astra, ticker ASTR. That's the worst of the space stocks. I mentioned it a few days ago. I was like, what do you think? If it doesn't go bankrupt, it'll go back up, which is like a really dumb way to play stocks. But, you know.
I just want to make sure everyone's aware there's a ticker UFO, which is the Procure Space ETF.
But all these space companies that they're trying to commercialize, they need excessive funding. Obviously, they're not making a profit. So, I just think these angel investors, there's just not anything for them to just throw money at anymore.
Have you heard of billionaires?
The reason Elon is doing SpaceX is to mine Mars. That's the long play.
I like that because they're even talking about the moon dust or whatever. We talked about that. Amazon. Amazon's going to go mine the moon dust to make solar panels. So, yeah, it is kind of the next frontier.
How are you gonna ship moon dust? You know how much that stuff weighs?
Well, I don't know if you would mine moon dust for solar panels. If you're going to do anything on the moon, I think you would mine the helium-3, which is probably a lot more profitable.
How much of a factor is weight when shipping in space, though? Because if you have a receptacle that's in orbit, constructed in orbit, you move it to the moon, you fill it, you send it back. All you really have to do then is just send vehicles from the surface to that receptacle to get the dust out, right?
It's a lot. NASA counts it down to their gram.
Right, but they're getting stuff out of orbit.
It's over my pay grade, I would say.
You gotta send it up in orbit first.
Well, you could send the receptacle up in pieces and construct it there, I would think. Maybe not now, but
like a Lego?
10, 20 years. Yeah, like 10, 20 years from now, you could probably do something modular.
Well, that's what they did with the International Space Station. I mean, they sent that up in small pieces and different modules and stuff like that. And they could definitely use a lunar orbiter. That would be like a base of operation that goes, between the surface of the moon and up to orbit of the moon.
Yeah,
you should just go up, get the moon, bring it back down to Earth, get the dust, and then put the moon back where it belongs.
And by puts on all the
talking about
coastline
the
businesses.
60-year-old lunar orbiter sitting on the surface?
Does that count as all of us going to the moon?
I think so. I mean, we could just, I'm telling you, drag the moon over, puts on the coastline.
Sorry, I got distracted during our moon dust conversation. But the Adderall shortage is real, dog. I had to drive over an hour to get my script filled. It's fucking ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, no, I have friends that are like, yeah, next month. I mean, it's like a week or two away, but when you hear that, that's quite frightening. But it is real.
There is a play on Adderall shortages.
Is there?
Get the $30 coupon for Vyvanse.
Well, yeah, there is a $30 coupon for Vyvanse. Don't start telling people about that. It's like,
dude, I gotta put it out there. It's been 2 days. We gotta do it.
No, I've been able to get my daughter, so that's good. I'm happy.
Yeah.
By the way, for Nordstrom, they are letting go 2,500 employees in Canada. So that's bullish news.
I didn't even realize Canada had 2,500 people living up there.
Sheesh.
Count the moose.
Ah, got it.
Yeah, no, we talked about that earlier. There's like 14 stores that they're closing their operations, all of their Canada operations.
Is Tim Hortons good again? I heard it went shitty and
It's always been shitty. You guys just finally woke up.
Truth.
Shots fired at Timmy's, man.
What the fuck is Meta doing today? Oh yeah, guys, take a shot. I said fuck. That's right. What's Meta doing today?
Ah, son of a bitch.
So Meta is very interesting in terms of their new large language models. So any of you that are bullish on ChatGPT, check out how they're comparing scoring on some of these harder tests like medical school, law school exams.
So we said the word, so it's going up 4%. That's cool.
But how do you think they're going to implement that? You can just say, "Hey Alexa, buy me this particular item." That's it. Isn't Alexa already doing that?
Are you talking about a large language model?
Well, yeah. What do you mean by that?
So like ChatGPT is a large language model.
It's an LLM.
And Facebook.
So how do you? What are they
Meta.
like? How do you think they're going to implement that?
So
Just search bar on Amazon.com. Just type in
no.
whatever you
We're
want.
talking about Meta. So like Meta's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Meta's data alone, you've seen what people have been able to do with it in terms of, the person accused of manipulating people on Facebook during the election, who said, these are the variables I use to basically predict how I could, sway people's emotions. Just imagine if you use Facebook data as a corpus for a large language model, the type of insights you might be able to gain. So I think that they're going to work with experts in AI to develop something that will be a content engine based on the data that they have on their users.
And you don't think that's already happening?
I think it's in progress. I just don't know how public they're being with it, because I think if you come out and say this is our large language model, you have to package it as this is our play on AI. And you saw what happened to Google when they had a botch rollout. I think that companies that have large language models that want people to know that they're heavily invested in AI are trying to be very strategic about when they come out. Like, if you listen to AI or anybody else that's familiar with this world, there's a lot of people doing cool shit, but they aren't putting it out there yet. And I think now that OpenAI has shown people what the business model is, they'll be more public. And that's why they're saying, hey, here's our large language model. See how it does on your medical school exam. See how it does on your law school exam. And the early results are really good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really cool work being done in AI in general, sort of like behind the scenes. And there's a lot of AI products that never really make it to commercialization.
This is Meta, though, we're talking about. They're not going to pivot away from their main goal, which is, what is it? The meta world, the metaverse.
They already have. In a lot of ways, like they're talking a lot about their AI model. So one of the cool things about their AI model that they've been talking about recently is it runs on the edge, which is crazy. Like, you normally have to have a massive amount of compute infrastructure to run an AI, right? But some of their models that they're working on are like small models that you could run on, like, conceivably your phone or something, which is just, it's pretty interesting to me.
I just bought Meta 0 days, 185. Picked up 6 of them. Fuck it. Drink.
Damn, imagine if you had done that yesterday.
Yeah, imagine.
I'm not going to talk about fucking yesterday right now.
Dude, And Meta's like really open with their data sources as well. So like a few years ago, I was involved with a project, and we got a data source from Meta, and we were just amazed at the quality of the data set that they were just giving out for free for AI researchers.
Wow, it's almost like you should be buying calls.
Holy shit, Meta just actually posted a big ass blog post on their large language model today. Yeah, I'll post it in the comments.
Is that what Cicero is?
Let me
Posts
see.
on Meta.
Is that what they're calling it?
They're calling, so they just call it Meta AI. It's the, hold on, sorry.
Oh, you're talking about the llama.
Yeah.
The LLAMA.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the llama's really dope.
Was it the llama that went sentient? Which one was the AI they were claiming was sentient?
There was a researcher at Google claiming that their large language model was sentient, and he got fired, probably because he's a moron and deserved to be fired for not understanding how AI works and supposedly being
But
AI
was that
researcher.
true?
No, that wasn't true.
Saying your AI is sentient is like saying that my GPS has become alive because it suggested a restaurant to me, so it must be hungry.
It's like thinking the stripper really likes you for your personality and who you are. Like, no.
That's because she does. That's because she does. Okay?
Well put. Well put, Scald.
Speak for
Well put.
yourself, bro.
Don't talk bad about Crystal.
Speak for yourselves, bro. I'm in love with mine.
So, speaking of Rick's calls,
I posted the blog post from Meta in the chat. Basically, they're saying, here's how we're going to democratize access to a large-scale large language models. Because, like Scott said, they have versions with very few parameters that are able to run on your phone. Then they have ones with like massive parameters that really have no place being run by any normal human.
So I know we've said it before here, and I'll say it again. If it's free, you're the product. So I mean, you're just going to make their AI stronger, which is what they want. But just devil's advocate.
I don't like these companies, social media companies. When Web3 comes out, they're just going to get wrecked.
Web3's out, and Web3 has not built a functional, decentralized social media app that is gained adoption yet. So like Web3 has had plenty of time to develop. They had 3 years with tons of capital to have like invested into it, and like Coinbase still can't even get its Web3 wallet right. Like Playboy's over here like saying, hey, subscribe to our Playboy mansion in Web3 metaverse land. Like nobody knows how to build on Web3. Most of the shit sucks. The people that can build on Web3 are being turned away because people are scared of crypto right now.
Yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Did you see this data set that they released called Casual Conversations?
No.
For
Where's
Meta?
this?
Here, I'll link it to you. So it has 45,000 videos of people just casually talking to each other about all kinds of stuff. And you can use this data set freely to train your AI on. It's literally just people talking to each other. But what's really cool is they actually have all 6 skin tones on the Fitzpatrick scale. The reason why this matters is like if you don't have all 6 skin tones on the Fitzpatrick scale and you're using a visual AI, your AI will come out super racist. I've seen it happen before. So like if you just train it and you're like, we're just going to train it on people in the lab, and like the only people in your lab are white, then like your visual AI will like really mess up the first time it sees like an Asian or like a black person, because like it's just never seen that before and it doesn't know they exist. So this is a really useful data set if you're an AI researcher that Meta just released for free.
Yeah, think about the applications for subtitles.
Oh
What do you
yeah.
mean?
Or like training an AI to transcribe our conversations here on Wall Street.
Yeah, like you can basically, so with subtitles, if you've watched a movie and you understand both languages, you know that the translation is not always accurate. And if you were able to train something that could use facial recognition, use the audio source to confirm what the speech actually was, you could build something that could read lips and transcribe subtitles as the conversation's happening.
But if that's going to be done in real time, doesn't that need a lot of like processing power? Doesn't that take a long time?
Yeah, look at the processing power that they have. Like, Meta is not short on processing power, I'll put it that way.
I've never seen it not accurate. It's just that languages don't always line up word for word, you know.
Yeah, but it still requires having someone who is familiar with both languages decide how to translate it. And that process takes forever if you've ever transcribed any sort of conversation or tried to like do the speech to text and like go back and forth with like, hey, you translated this way, but it actually means this, and this is the sentiment we want in the movie.
So
You can automate that.
I'm not sure if this is live publicly yet.
Is someone talking?
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Now we can. What's up?
So I don't know if it's live publicly yet, but Microsoft Teams has been transcribing on the fly for a few years now. And it really was internal when I was there, and then when I left, I don't know if it's a thing yet. But not saying it isn't going to be.
Is it good?
But yeah, it was freaking on point. Every once in a while, it'd screw up, but it was like never obscene or anything.
So usually, well, I was just going to say, usually translation stuff isn't too bad. It's when it gets very culturally specific or content specific that the translations get thrown off. You know, if you're saying like "good morning," but in that culture, there's like a very specific phrase used for like "good morning" on a sunny day, that doesn't always translate well.
Yeah, but also think about this: if you did a visual, like if you use this data set and you successfully got convergence, which rarely happens. Like rarely does AI actually work. But if you actually got a convergence and were able to live transcribe things by watching people's mouths, just think about it. You could just set up a really high detail camera at an office and you would just know what they're saying in that office. You could be across the street.
The spy game would like amplify exponentially.
Yeah. Be ridiculous.
So essentially, Scald wants to be able to know what you're singing in the shower as he watches you. Apparently, is where AI is going. Don't be scared.
I mean, I'm just saying that's like one use case for that data set. I'm not saying it's a good one.
The other one with transcriptions is like if you're recording a conversation amongst East Coast people, they tend to talk over each other, but it's like the style of the conversation, so it's not rude in any way. But transcribing that just through audio, it's so hard to separate the speakers. But if you can use visual data, you're able to see like, oh, it was this guy speaking, rather than having to discern voices.
Sir, are you saying Eastern people are rude people? Because I'm in the Northeast.
No, East Coast people just like, when you're on the East Coast, you could be talking about your favorite coffee, but to someone who's like, you know, from a casual, they might think you're arguing about it.
Yo, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, I drink coffee.
Yeah, coffee. Fucking coffee, bro.
Cool.
No, but I use Microsoft Teams voicemail transcriptions because like vendors call constantly and just leave voicemails, but it is gibberish. Like I don't understand any of it, so I don't think it's finished yet. It's on Microsoft.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, you're gonna get cream pied on that. Yeah, what happened to Bumble? CEO sell his shares and shit?
I think Grindr's the new hot topic.
Didn't I thought the CEO of Bumble sold shares or something, so just don't. But yeah, I agree.
Do you use Grindr?
Grindr's platform's better.
You guys use Grindr?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Just to troll people.
Opinion has been doing a very deep dive into Grindr for the past few months, even before the IPO.
He might be the spokesperson for Grindr, right?
He was the angel investor.
Oh, he was an angel for many people.
Angelita.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to keep doing my research. I haven't found anything yet, but when I do, I'll let you guys know. But don't worry, I'm working hard away at it. Very hard.
I wonder what kind of statistics they get out of Grindr. Like, you know how Tinder has like their statistics?
Average dick size.
I don't know about that, but I wish. I mean,
that'd be your demographics, but
Guys, you already know the average dick size has been increasing in the last 30 years according to science. So
directly correlated.
That is
yeah.
I'm gonna get ripped on for this, but I don't care. That is a false study. That was a completely self-reported. No, that was.
Yeah, I agree with you, bro. I totally agree.
That was a completely self-reported study. If you actually look into the data, they literally just called dudes and they were like, "How big was your dick?" And the guys were like, 15 inches.
like I got a bunch of fishermen or something. What the hell?
From a balls to shaft, or are we talking like, you know?
No, but literally, it was from like drsexytimes.com, and they literally just called people and asked them like on the phone, just like tell us.
I never got a call. That's some bullshit.
2 centimeters.
Well, they left me out because I have an innie, not an outie, so it would have thrown off the data.
I wonder if they did circumcised and uncircumcised.
I'm sure they did.
How do they calculate the curvature difference?
Right? Because, I mean, a circumcised and an uncircumcised, like, you kind of have an extra gain if you're uncirc.
I wish we had Hardy here. He's so smart. He'd be able to tell us.
Well,
he is the true Hardy expert.
They probably asked if you're a grower or a shower.
Well, the thing, guys, is you have to
Definitely a grower.
You have to calculate the delta between the start to end point, right, in order to really figure out.
But if you calculate the pi of the radius between its delta, then you won't.
Ooh, talk dirty to me, babies.
Just before you reach gamma max.
We've gone way too far.
Off the rails.
The views
not off the rails. Norfolk Southern. Is anybody still short Norfolk Southern today?
I don't know what the fuck that is.
Norfolk Southern is the railroad that had the ship blow up in East Palestine.
Holy shit.
I mean, at this point, what can happen to, like, lower their share? Like, what are they going to do? Be like, actually, not only did we do that, but we're also going to war with Ukraine. Dun, dun, dun. Like, what's left for them to go down?
I will say they are getting dragged through the mud in the media.
Well, they've now decided to do dioxin testing. So after they burn the vinyl chlorides, there's a chance that it creates this thing called dioxins. If you're unaware, dioxins are the most toxic chemicals on Earth, TCDD being the most toxic chemical, a teaspoon of which would kill the entire population of New York City. Anyway, these can be created by burning large quantities of industrial chemicals, including vinyl chloride. The EPA said it wasn't going to test for dioxins. They've now been ordered to do so. And so if they end up finding these in the soil around East Palestine, it could get really nasty. I mean, the entire area could become a Superfund site, and then, like, basically Norfolk Southern has to buy the town.
Oh, it's already a Superfund site. There's no way they're not going to declare that a Superfund.
I mean, I'm just saying, you know, they're going to have to buy the town.
We're going to have to buy all those houses, dude. If I lived there, I'd be up their ass to buy my fucking house.
Did you hear that guy that his voice was like high pitched, sound like Mickey Mouse?
Thank
They might
you.
probably put Disneyland there.
Yeah, and they basically said, yeah, you definitely have what Scald was talking about. They're like, you definitely have it in your system, but there's no one that could even test him or treat the guy. But he literally was like, hello, I'm talking about this. I mean, it was sad, though, because he's talking about...
Do that again.
Hey.
Nailed it.
Whoa.
Do that again, bro.
Yeah, do it again.
It's so good.
Listen, they just need him to play Gollum in the Lord of the Rings relaunch.
Wait, hold
and
on, keep going.
It's good.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Almost there. Go.
Are there any lawyers here? Does anybody know the timeline on a lawsuit like that?
Years.
6 days.
And it's going to be
Years, dude.
6 days. Jesus, what?
So a lot of it is, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked a ton into it, but a big part that's going to be played into this is how the federal government starts classifying the area. I know FEMA's been going there, so there's some federal government declaration, but how they classify and categorize the disaster is going to play a big part into the ultimate liabilities, because they're almost going to be the ones in charge of saying like how bad it is.
Dude, it can't be years. People have to live there. There's no way.
It takes years, man. Trust me. This is
It's going to take years. Yeah.
The legal system is slow as hell. That doesn't mean that Norfolk Southern might not pay out some type of settlements along the way, but yeah,
it's not even that. Like the actual thing is not settled until the people that want to move back to where they live have a house built and they get the keys and their shit is moved back in, bro. That takes like years to settle that.
I was just looking at the chart, and you can look over the last, week. The stock price is somewhat levelized. So again, there's so many long-term unknowns about what the amount is going to be paid. But I think maybe the short-term movement in the stock may have already been priced in. I'm not bullish on them. I think what Rad's talking about, the EPA did take over last week, essentially. That really is going to drive it, but it's going to go the speed of government. So no near-term, I don't think there'll be any near-term market-moving news on it personally now. I think it will kind of fade away. It already has in the news, unfortunately, but we'll get reminders of it down the road. But I don't think it will impact the stock price as much.
Also keep in mind, because lawsuits take so long, a lot of, unfortunately, people are going to, who have medical issues, are going to just wind up settling for far less than they could ultimately get just because they can't wait that time period. So you're going to see a lot of reports of like Norfolk essentially getting to drag their feet on the legal case and settling with a lot of people who can't afford to wait that out while their medical bills pile up for this.
So the bottom is in. That's basically what everybody's saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's only
short term, I think,
to bring in the supplies to build the town back together. So
how much is the super fund say?
Anybody want to talk about Amazon pausing construction in their second headquarters in Virginia?
What do you mean they're pausing?
The article just came out of CNBC. Amazon pauses construction.
For what reason?
Oh, and real quick, I don't know how much that Superfund site costs. The person who asked, Scald, I don't know if you do either, but I didn't want to ignore his question.
Yeah, it depends. So normally the cleanups easily go into the tens of millions. 100 million is not out of the question. But also, typically, what happens as far as the litigation is that typically it's spread out over multiple companies. So Norfolk Southern might say, "Well, it's our train, so we're going to pay this much money," and then they'll say, "But it was this chemical company's actual shipment, and then they'll pay a certain amount also, right? And then the loads were insured, so then the insurance company pays out a certain amount. So the cost can be like really high, but it also typically gets diffused across multiple companies that are involved in that accident in some way. But the lion's share will probably go to Norfolk Southern because they were the operators of the train. But I'm just speculating.
Thank you. And yeah, PP, if you want to go back to the Amazon Center, I saw that they were
that doesn't seem very bullish, right? That they're
Right. They're indicating because they have a gloomy economic outlook, and also they're pointing out to the fact that recently they've been having layoffs, totally 18,000 employees so far. So they're just reevaluating everything.
Is it also in combination with folks just working from home? Like,
Well, that's part of the layoffs, right? That the easiest, generally speaking, the easiest way to, the first ones to go are usually the remote employees.
no, I'm saying like folks working from home that are not laid off.
No, they're just indicating a phase of slowing revenue and gloomy economic outlook.
I think they had to hire a lot during the pandemic, and now that the pandemic's over, they have to cut that a little bit.
Yeah, they're definitely saying they're cutting expenses, but they're not going specific as to if it's just because of remote employees or anything like that. But you could tell.
They overbuilt, and they've even said that on the way of warehousing spaces. So, but if you remember, that second headquarters was a big headline and a long process there, where you had a lot of cities going after that. Remember, and that was the whole rug pull from New York too. So, I mean that was a big story. I forget how long ago that was, 7-8 years ago. So, I think it's interesting development. That's why I want to circle back to it.
For me, I just take this as an indicator of, if there's going to be a slowdown in e-commerce. I mean, that's just going to impact SPY at all if you have any bearish positions on it.
I mean, e-commerce and retail will slow down significantly, especially if discretionary money goes down from inflation, people being laid off, and then of course now we have, for let's say the millennials, that their student loan debts are going to be coming back up in June because Biden lied about all his promises.
Well, I mean, he's being blocked by the courts, right? The entire thing hinges on a court case, not necessarily.
No,
I would say the court case is about the $10,000 forgiveness. The June is more about the health declaration. The June repayment is more about the health declaration.
I mean, it's going to be, 2 months after the Supreme Court decision, which most likely will be, no, this isn't, ethical to do or whatever. So then they're going to shut it down, and then 2 months from there, they're going to restart up everyone's student loan repayments. And if it's not, they're going to start it up in June.
The court's really going to have to do some acrobatics to stop that from happening, actually. Because in 2003, after the 2001 attack on the Twin Towers in 2003, they actually passed an act that said if there was ever a national emergency, basically all these student loans become like part of the power of the U.S. president to basically manipulate them in the case of a national emergency. So I mean, pandemic falls squarely in the basically definition of a national emergency. So they're going to have to contend with a law that was already passed.
But how does the COVID curtail with just the increase of college tuition? Like, that was already happened before. Like, people were in a shit ton of debt. It's not like COVID
do you have the
and now they're in
case
more
or
debt.
the source? I'd like to read up on that.
Yeah, I just Google it, dog. Here, let's see.
It's literally being held this week in the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
And yesterday, the lawyer, again,
No, I'm talking about the one you're talking about from 2003.
Yeah, it's the HEROES Act of 2003, gives the administration sweeping authority to reduce or eliminate student debt during a national emergency when significant actions with potentially far-reaching consequences are often required, is the exact wording of the HEROES Act that passed in 2003. So under that act, basically, like I said, the court's going to have to do some acrobatics to get around that wording, because if you just read it at face value, it seems like this is the exact sort of situation where he would have the power to do this.
What's your confidence level it passes?
Well, here's the thing. It's like, I would say just reading the law, yes, but I would also say we have a very conservative Supreme Court, so they might come up with some legal jujitsu to be like, oh, this wasn't a national emergency, or there are no far-reaching consequences, right? Like, but it's going to take some jujitsu.
Yeah,
to get that
and Bourbon, just to kind of further explain the idea. So let's, regardless if the Supreme Court says, yes or no on the $10,000 that they're deciding on his forgiveness, the payments are going to restart in June no matter what. That's not on trial, if that helps kind of dissect the idea a little bit better. That's going to happen anyhow.
Yeah, and the language here in this article this is from AP News. That part of it is an opinion by the person who read this, where it says reduce or eliminate. In the actual HEROES Act itself, it says adjust. So at least one of the Supreme Court justices said that adjusting is different from eliminating, and that the HEROES Act doesn't say exactly that they can eliminate student loan debt, that they can adjust it, right? So maybe they can pause it, which has already been done, and no one's really refuting the legality of the pause, right? So there is already some opinions out there from the conservative justices that they could modify like payment terms and things like that, but they can't actually eliminate the debt or reduce the debt.
Wow. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but we're here in the end zone on decisions, right? I'm not sure when the decision needs to be made, but it seems to be coming soon, probably April latest.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't, this is going to really decrease free cash flow among millennials and Gen Z, which will have a knock-on effect for the economy, and that'll be a negative effect. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because the average student payment, right, monthly is around probably $300. Let's say $20,000 debt. So that's a car payment and so forth. That's your extra money for strippers and cigarettes.
All right, I think we've kind of diverged a little bit, but maybe time to wrap things up. What are you guys feeling like? Want to keep going?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm out of here later.
All right. Well,
Thanks, opinion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll see you all later.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks. I hope you guys had a good week. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Don't lose too much money, and we'll see you all Monday.
Enjoy your weekend.
Wow.
Peace.
Yeah, Nordstrom's opinion.
Cheers.